5 minutes past 12 from Women Radio 91.7, Nigeria's first and only radio station for women and their families. Today is Thursday, 28 November 2024. How are you doing today? I really do hope that your day has been a lovely one for you. Welcome to the 16 Days of Activism. Today is the day 4. The 16 Days of Activism is a specialized program where we get to raise awareness, mobilize action, and call for the prevention and elimination of all forms of violence against women and girls globally. Now, this is done Mondays through to Fridays. Of course, we started this particular campaign, the 16 Days of Activism campaign, on Monday, 25 November. And of course, it will end on 10 December 2024. So for the next 16 days, we'll be doing this 12:05 p.m. on Women Radio 91.7. So here is what you're supposed to do. Join the conversation by contributing or reacting to the big question. You can call us on 07000 917 917, or better still, send us a WhatsApp message on 0703 175 6537. You can also send us your contributions to our social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, X, and YouTube, all at the BFM 917. Or better still, log into our website, www.thebfm917.com. Today, on the day 4 of the 16 Days of Activism, we'll be discussing what that has been done so far, the challenges, and the way forward when it comes to supporting survivors of sexual and gender-based violence. Now, you will agree with me that violence against women and girls is one of the most widespread human rights violations. Even UN Women has it documented that nearly 1 in 3 women have experienced physical or sexual violence. Talk about intimate partner violence and what have you. And of course, in 2003 alone, over 51,100 women were murdered by partners or family members. And this, brings it totally to the fact that 1 woman is killed every 10 minutes. Now, this violence, which can be physical, sexual, or even emotional, has severe short and long-term effects on women's physical and mental health. Sometimes some of the survivors are left with lifetime trauma. The scale of this crisis underscores the urgent need for us to put in comprehensive action to prevent violence, support survivors, and ultimately end these violations. My name is Blessing Agbeito, and on the show today, we will be talking about the challenges and the way forward in supporting survivors of sexual and gender-based violence, like I rightly mentioned earlier on the show. To discuss this with me on the program, I have Elizabeth George Esquire. She is the Executive Director of Child is Gold Foundation. Good to have you on the show today, Elizabeth. How are you doing?
I'm doing fine. Thank you for having me today on the show.
Fantastic. It's so good to have you on the show today. So, it's the 16 Days of Activism already. So, are there activities your organization have embarked on since Monday that the campaign started?
For us, for the 16 Days Activism, we have daily activities, ranging from physical activities to online campaigns, online sensitizations, symposiums, rallies. We started with the flag up. All the organizations in Bauchi State that are working in sexual and gender-based violence, we came together with the Commissioner of Women Affairs. We had a rally to the office of the First Lady where we addressed, and then she flagged off the 16 Days Activism officially. Same day, we had our own flag off at our office studio, where we had a live discussion with the State Coordinator, National Human Rights Commission Bauchi, the State Amira of Form 1 Bauchi. We had other stakeholders too that were there, and it was very interactive. And since then, every day is loads and loads of activities. And for the 16 days, for every day it's going to be mapped because it's very important for the work that we are doing.
All right, thank you very much for that one. So yes, let's delve right into it. And I must say well done on all of the things that you're doing to ensure that we amplify the plight of women and girls, particularly when it comes to violation of their rights. So thank you and well done for the good job that you're doing. As an organization that supports survivors of SGBV, what particular program or services does the organization provide to help survivors rebuild their lives after experiencing sexual and gender-based violence?
First and foremost, we ensure that these survivors go through trauma healing and psychological support and counseling. For us, it's the most important. They have various needs that we support, but they need to first of all be in the right frame of mind to understand, to go through, to pass through, to grieve through what they've gone through before they are integrated into the society. Because once they are not healed, there's nothing you would give them that would make any sense to them. You just have angry people, sad people working in the community. And how do they get healed? For some, all they need is justice. For some, they need healing. For some, healthcare. And in all of this, we participate. So we go through trauma healing, psychological support and counseling. We have a trauma clinic where the survivors come for their counseling. It differs for some. From the beginning, it's almost daily, and then with time, maybe twice a week, with time once a week, and then until it even comes to a point where you're being recommended by the psychologist that you're okay and you could go into skill acquisitions and other things. And we also have litigation and legal representation. I'm a lawyer. We have a group of lawyers in the organization that help the survivors pro bono. For some survivors, the only healing they want to see is a form of vengeance, is a form of revenge, is a form of ensuring justice, that the perpetrator is being punished. And we do that. And we also have livelihood where we support them with livelihood. We refer, we don't have a shelter, but we partner with other organizations like Fund One where we refer survivors for shelter. We also have skills acquisition programs, training and empowerment. For a skills acquisition program, some people would want to, of course, you would ask the person what interests him, her, and most people will tell you skill acquisition and they will choose the skill. For some, they would say education, which will enroll them back to school, especially the younger ones. But for some, especially the older women, they will choose their skill and then will enroll them. And then medical care and assistance, very, very important, because for some, they are badly damaged. We have some that had to undergo surgery, and then we refer them to the VVF Center in Ningi, where they undergo major surgery and correction. And we offer all of these services. And for those that is not within our power or is not much of our strength, we refer to relevant organizations or bodies that would really quickly assist them. So we work in collaboration and synergy with other sister organizations that are also fighting gender-based violence.
All right, thank you very, very much. I do appreciate you for your thoughts on that. Again, well done on what you're doing. Okay, so how do you ensure that? I know you've said some of the things you do, legal assistance and all of that, but how do you ensure that survivors receive comprehensive care?
We give survivors care based on their need that we identify in the area of priority. As we register them, we take their need into consideration. And it also depends on the level of risk, whether it's high or low or medium. We develop a case plan with other service providers like I mentioned earlier. And that is why we do referrals. We maintain strong collaboration and constant monitoring of progress. You know, you have to constantly monitor the progress of the survivors. And we also organize case conference with other service providers involved through referral. We have a case conference where we sit down and discuss, okay, this survivor, because every survivor has its own peculiarity. You see, all the first steps I mentioned in the first question, trauma healing, litigation, this and that, it is not necessary, it's not a template for all survivors, no. And that is why we are peculiar with individualism. Each person has his or her peculiar, situation. For some, it's domestic violence. For some, it's in marriage. For some, it's even before marriage or outside marriage. It's a boyfriend or a friend or someone that you're even dating. So it differs, and all of them need different attention, and all of them need different support. So for me to really answer this question well, I would just say we give survivors care based on their needs after identifying their area of priority, and then we keep checking progress, because sometimes they might not even really know what they want. There's somebody that said, I just want to learn hairdressing, but we discovered that even in her closet she's always buying beads, trying to do something. So when we asked her, what do you really want? She didn't know what she wanted. She just wanted to be out of the house and all of that. But sometimes you have to be checking their progress. And when you see that she's lacking in what she said she wants, you could on your own identify and then carefully discuss with her. We do not advise suggesting, but carefully discuss with her to make her understand. So one of the things that you have to work with is extreme patience, working with survivors. They've been through what you would not understand. Only them can understand. So you have to be extremely careful, work with people of expertise to meet them at the point of their individual needs and priorities.
Thank you very much for your thoughts on that one. You too can be a part of the conversation by calling us on 07000 917 917. Send us a text and WhatsApp message on 0703 1756537. Log into our website www.wfm917.com. Download the mobile app, the BFM 917. Sending your thoughts to our social media platforms, WFM 917. That is how you can be a part of the conversation for today. Let's talk about this one for a moment. Elizabeth, how do you work to address societal stigmas and cultural barriers that often discourage survivors from seeking help? We're in that era when somebody comes out to say, I was abused, I was sexually assaulted and all of that, and somebody's asking you, why were you there? What were you wearing? Are you supposed to be at that point in time? You probably seduced a guy and all of that. So how do you work to ensure that you address all of the societal stigmas and cultural barriers that often discourage survivors from seeking help?
Our community is being surrounded by cultures and traditions. We are traditionally, religiously oriented or inclined. And that is why for every intervention and in working with sexual and gender-based violence issues, our first place of call are the gatekeepers, the stakeholders, the community stakeholders, the custodian of the cultures, custodian of the laws. And these are the people that the people respect and listen to. So the first thing we do in order to avoid stigma is we work closely with key stakeholders and community leaders, community and traditional and religious leaders. We create awareness, we sensitize them on the dangers of stigmatization. We create GBV awareness, and then we also teach them on reporting pathways, legal pathways of response to SGBV. And then we also discourage harmful gender practices. We encourage survivors to form support groups in the communities where they share their experiences and strengthen each other's. On our own part, we work with the community leaders and the gatekeepers, sensitize them on the importance of not stigmatizing these people. But we also ensure that these people come out of their shell and then form support groups that they encourage each other. And from some of the support groups that we've established in communities, we discover that they are doing so well. They have their savings and loan, they are into their businesses, they encourage each other, and they even speak to other people. They even sensitize the community, and which is very, 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 very important. And so our stakeholders, once they understand the effects of these things, like when I'm facilitating the community, I just say a word. I said, if a thief comes to your house to rob you of your property, who should we have empathy on? They'll be like, me, that my property is stolen. I said, who should go through all the mockery and say the thief? I say, good. So how comes it mind is a woman that her dignity was taken away from her. How come she's the one that we are discriminating, and then we're talking about we're gossiping in the community, and then the thief that came to steal is the one that is like having empathy. And once I use that illustration and so many other illustrations, you see that they beginning to understand this thing and how it works.
All right, thank you very much.
And you know that it could happen to anybody. And stigma is the wrong thing to.
Thank you very much for your thoughts on that one, Elizabeth. I do appreciate you. So let's talk about the strategies you have put into place to empower survivors to regain confidence and independence, particularly after their experiences. I know you've mentioned a lot. You talked about empowering them, some with education, some with skills. You even partner with some other organizations to ensure that you give them shelter and all of that. But let's talk about the strategies you use as an organization to empower survivors, to help them regain their confidence and independence after their experiences, particularly after releasing them back, rehabilitating them back into the society.
Okay, we have major training for security agencies, market leaders, even drivers, even Okada riders in the community, and most importantly, traditional birth attendants. You see, some of those women that in the midst of the violence, domestic violence, they get pregnant. Most of them give birth through this local traditional birth attendants. And then we also train these women because that's their first days of course. This women that we tell them, okay, come out of your shell, ensure you go for the immunization, put your head high and all of that. And these women have been doing a wonderful work. And then we carry their caregivers along in the healing process. Not only them, their caregivers need to understand that at this point in time, they need all the support that they can get from family and loved ones. So we guide and assist them to build their confidence, believe in their ability, ensure the environment is safe and conducive for them, free from all stigma, and we support their skills and crafts, fostering mentoring programs among survivors. We also support them to participate in leadership-related engagement in the community. Some of these shelters we give them, it's not as if they don't have good homes where they are coming from. But sometimes we just need a more conducive environment for them to go through their healing. But one thing that we take very, very, very important is their caregivers. We ensure that we carry them along. Because even if they go back, they should have that love and that support. Survivors should be people that we care for, we have empathy for, and we treat them right. Because once we don't get the first stage of their healing right, then we would have very angry and aggressive survivors in the society that will always want to seek revenge on anybody and on whoever.
All right, thank you very much for sharing that with us on the show. Now let's talk about your challenges as an organization. What are the challenges that you have faced thus far when it comes to your effort in supporting survivors, and how can other stakeholders, help you in addressing these challenges?
We face one of our major challenges is stigma, lack of family support or attention, cultural barriers, harmful norms on traditional practices, limited access to resources, then limited access to stakeholders. There are some stakeholders that will not want to give you access. And the solutions to all this is if we have stakeholders that can help us address this challenge, and we'll through continue awareness creation and sensitization. And then we'll also talk to the people on the danger of stigma. And then one solution is also training of leaders and community members of the need to integrate survivors back to society with love, support, and empower them. Strengthen network and linkage for effective collaboration. Also avert and abolish any form of harmful traditional practices.
All right, thank you very, very much for your thoughts on the show for today. Now let's talk about the role. What role does your organization play when it comes to advocating for stronger policies and laws to protect survivors and prevent sexual and gender-based violence?
We play a vital role as an organization in advocating for strong policies and laws to protect survivors and prevent SGBV. We are part of the committee for the VAP law alongside other partners in Bauchi State that was domesticated. And currently, we are part of the movement to push for the implementation of the Child's Rights Act We're part of the Gender Policy Review Committee in Bauchi, and we are an active member of the Bauchi State Technical Working Group on Gender-Based Violence. Presently, Child is Good Foundation, Ash Foundation, with sponsorship from Women for Women International, are also working on a law, the law on tax my menstrual pad movement. And then the law has gone through first and second reading. And what do we want to achieve? Establishment of pad banks in all government schools in Bauchi State, both primary and secondary school. And this is also to help survivors that cannot afford some of these necessary things of life. And it's also to help them earn a living, because most of disabled pads are produced by the survivors. It's part of the skills that we teach them. So they use it in order to help their menstrual hygiene, and they also sell it in order to have a means of livelihood. So, and once this law is passed in Bauchi State, it will be great, because there will be demands on the number of usable parts that will be needed, and it will also help the survivors. So we ensure that in all of the work we are doing, there are also strong policies that back up these laws, and these policies also help us to get justice for these survivors, because without these policies, there's no way we can get real justice for the survivors.
All right, thank you very much for your thoughts on the show for today. We really do appreciate you. You've said a lot, so let's talk about involving communities when it comes to raising awareness and fostering a culture of zero tolerance for SGBV. How does your organization do this? I know you've mentioned something about your organization involving community members and all of that, but enlighten us, how do you do this?
Through service collaborations to service providers. When I mean service providers, I mean every part of the community, women, group, Okada riders. SGBV is a fight for everybody. And once we get to the community, we create awareness by having town hall meetings. And in these town hall meetings, we speak in the language that they understand. I will not go to the community to sensitize them on sexual and gender-based violence using this language I'm using now on air. I would have to look for a consultant or a facilitator that understands the language of that community, and then we discuss. They ask questions, we answer. And even during our radio program, our media engagement and awareness, we do it in languages, even the jingles, we do it in languages that this community understand. In Bauchi, we use the Fulfude, that's Fulani, we use Hausa, we use Sewa, we use Jarawa, because you don't go speaking English to them, they might not understand. And we don't even use all the radio stations. There's a radio station that is in all the local governments of Bauchi State. When you go to hard-to-reach communities, you see people in their farm with that radio. You see women in the market with radio on. So we speak in languages that they would understand, and we talk about these things. Sometimes it's just a 5-minute jingle. Sometimes it's just a short word like a podcast, but it rings the bell. And when we do a tune-in, call-in program, you see that they are calling, when they call the name of the community that they are calling for, you wonder, a very hard to reach community. And then they listen and they ask questions. And with that, I can't tell you the number of success stories we have had, because people are beginning to open up. Even yesterday, someone called me from a very sick village. She was trying to talk. I was not even hearing her well. Of, a recent abuse that just happened to her daughter, and she got response immediately. So all of these things that we do, we work with the community. We don't work in isolation. No, we don't work like, oh, we are far from them. We tell them that we are together. This thing is our fight, and we work together. Sensitization, awareness campaigns, jingles, and lots of these things that we do for us to be on the same page and for us to work together. If we just go to the community and do intervention and go, then there won't be sustainability. But when we work hand in hand with them, we end up getting mega results. And I tell you, we are changing the narrative. People are reporting, people are getting justice, and a lot is being done on SGBV in Bauchi State.
All right, thank you very, very much. Honestly, you said so much on the show today. Now, as we wrap up, just before we let you go, how do you think stakeholders such as the society, government, and other organizations can come together to support survivors of sexual and gender-based violence?
I think we can advocate for policies, and the policies that are on that are not very solid, we can advocate for policy reviews. We should ensure strict adherence and implementation of laws. We have lots of laws in Nigeria, but how is the implementation process? How is the adherence process? And we should also help in monitoring and coordinating every implementation of SGBV, because it is our business. It concerns us. When a community, when an organization comes and does something in the community, we should ensure that we follow it up. We don't just allow it to just die. And we should involve everybody at all levels: men, youths, women, traditional and religious leaders. And we should also revive response and support group for SGBV survivors. There are some response groups that have been there, but it's no longer active. We should revive them. We should include the men, the he for she's. When men advocate, it adds a voice to it. Don't say, no, this is women thing, oh, this is girls thing. No, everybody is really, really important. And I think for us to achieve this, all hands must be on deck. Everybody is a stakeholder when it comes to issues of SGBV. Everybody is important. And together, we would achieve this. We would stop this menace, and we would have a society that is free of sexual and gender-based violence.
Thank you very, very much for being a part of the conversation today. Elizabeth George, Esquire, the Executive Director, Child is Gold Foundation. We really do appreciate you, and we hope the next time we invite you on a program like this, you would oblige us.
I was so much obliged. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you, Nigerians.
Thank you. All right, there you have it on the show today. Honestly, rising above sexual and gender-based violence requires collective action, unwavering commitment, and the empowerment of survivors to reclaim their lives. As we mark the 16 days of activism, it is important for us to amplify our voices, strengthen the support systems, and foster a culture of zero tolerance for gender-based violence. Only together can we build a safer, more equitable world where everyone can thrive free from violence. Once again, many thanks to my special guest for today, Elizabeth George, Esquire, the Executive Director, Child is Gold Foundation. And of course, many thanks to the program's team of Women Radio for putting this together, and to the executive producer, Tom Okewale Shonaya. We say thank you. My name is Blessing Agbeton. Good afternoon.
WFM 91.7.